by the fact that Lee were missing forwards for portions of the
game. That does suggest that. I wonder how many of the tries were scored when Lee were down a man. Let's have a look.
Yes, we can take a quick look at that. But there was some big. Look, the Leeds pack did very, very well, and was certain. I would have thought would have been the dominant pack in terms of the meters they were making.
None of them
against Leeds. Oh well,
none of them.
This is what happens when I try to make a point.
Yeah,
but I'll still say that missing key players at times like that, being a man down, it all contributes. It's a cumulative net effect, isn't it?
Of course.
So that percentage slower, that percentage less quick off your mark, that percentage less able to make tackles. So I think it does have an impact.
Well, one of the big factors was Leeds taking penalty goals and or attempts at penalty goals at the very least, and that was. All came through that indisciplined period in the second half where Lee saw the sin bins happen and that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. That's when Leeds were like, right, this is how we're going to win this game then. Yeah. And they did that. Yeah.
Intelligent game management. Mm. What did the stats tell us though?
Having more ball and kicking penalty goals were crucial for Leeds to win.
There you go.
They ended up with 240 metres more than Lee and on the better end of high error and penalty counts, 14-15 and 11-14 respectively.
Right.
If it wasn't for that, Lee made 4-2 in clean breaks, had slightly better average gain and a considerably better 97% tackle success rate. So it is Lee punishing themselves with those penalties, those sin bins, those mistakes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Individually then, who stood out for us?
You mentioned Adam Cuthbertson already. 2 tries, 115 metres, only the 2 offloads for him this week. That's
dismal.
That's shocking.
Awful.
Why have I included that? That's too low a number to include of offloads. That's
although in the conditions,
embarrassing for him.
Although in the conditions.
Mitch Garbutt 190 metres, Jamie Jones Buchanan 104 metres, Ryan Hall 124 metres, and Callum Watkins 1 try assist 128 metres, 4 successful offloads.
Showing Cuthbertson how to do it. There you go. Did anybody stand out for the Leeds Centurions?
Well, Matty Dawson remarkably converted his 2 clean breaks into 2 tries.
Still not a winger.
Corey Patterson with a try, 40 tackles, so a bit both ways from Big Corey. Curtis Norton 112 metres, Jamie Acton 141 metres. If Jamie Acton...
We say this every time Jamie Acton makes a stat roundup, and he usually does make the stats roundup
every time he's not suspended.
Yeah.
I think there's got... If Lee don't stay up this year, it's a possibility. If they don't stay up this year, someone needs to take him, but... It can't be someone with a head coach that's
going to put his hinges back on for him first off. Then.
Yeah, it needs to be someone who's going to tighten that discipline in. It can't be someone who just lets him go and do his natural thing because...
Wigan. You're at market for forwards.
Yeah, but...
Disciplined coach.
But Wayne's disciplined in terms of he wants players to fit into his work ethics and the broad structures that he wants to apply. Not necessarily disciplined in terms of don't go out there and lose your head occasionally.
Yeah, that's true. He does like an unhinged psychopath, doesn't he? Okay.
I don't know if he likes them, but he lets them.
Certainly employs a few.
Yeah.
more than 2 is definitely more than a is a trend. Is a trend, isn't it? Yeah, he did get rid of Hawk, didn't he? Okay. Well, speaking of Wigan, Mark, we'll move on to. Saturday afternoon, shall we, where Hull FC were 39 points to 26 winners over the Wigan Warriors in front of 10,333, refereed by Phil Bentham.
Yeah, and at _Ebony_Ray_ said, fantastic match for Hull, but Bentham is an absolute disgrace to rugby league. A Wigan try given when it was a blatant forward pass and in capital letters he was in touch. Loads of forward passes and nothing happened. Someone getting sent off for saying something to the ref but not getting sent off for dangerous tackles. It's disgusting. The RFL need to do something about it soon because it's getting ridiculous.
Wow, a lot of stuff to unpack in that one.
Well, obviously, yeah, it is guns out for the referees time in Super League at the moment, isn't it? So when the coaches and the owners think it's perfectly acceptable to blame everything on referees, you're going to get fans doing the same thing.
Yeah. Well, there's a very interesting Dave Woods article.
Although I think Ebony Ray is actually a Hull fan from this.
Yeah, I suspect so.
Yeah. Because if he was a Wigan fan or a neutral or someone who saw that none of the Wigan tries were anyone in touch.
No, I
assume he was a Hull fan at the game who hadn't watched it back when he or she, because the only try
could they make? Which try did they mean?
I think, well, given the forward pass reference and then the and in capital letters, they must mean the Liam Marshall one.
Yeah.
Now, look, that was a forward pass in my book.
Yeah.
But Stuart Cummins said it wasn't in his book. And he's got the same...
He's vastly more experienced referee than you, Mark.
Exactly,
Must be right.
Still thought he was.
Yeah.
There was borderline forward passes on a few of the old
tries. You didn't get borderline forward passes. I'm fucking annoyed that they bashed the referee.
The dangerous tackle, that was, again, I assume Ebony hasn't watched the game back because Cummins explained why that wasn't giving us a yellow card. I'd have had no problem. This is the Tom Davies.
Oh, right.
Tom, no, not that one. This is...
I thought you meant the Willie Iser after the fact fucking one where he drilled Minicello over.
No, we'll talk about all those, the other isolated incidents. Yeah. I think he's talking about because the only one that was actually dangerous tackle, being what he was given for, I think, was the tackle in the air on young Rawsthorne by young Davies.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have had an objection if a sin bin was given to that, to be honest. The speed it happened at makes it more dangerous than most tackled in the air as we see.
Yeah.
And so if it was punished by more than a penalty, I wouldn't have had too big an objection. Although Cummins did explain how he didn't take him above the horizontal with what he did. He came down on his side rather than the neck, shoulders, head area, which is why he wouldn't have given it as a yellow card himself. But look, I would have had no objections with that. But I'm certainly not saying don't send someone off for using foul and abusive language to the referee.
Oh, yeah, of course not.
Well, not send them off, sorry, give him a sin bin.
Give him a sin bin. I mean, he was quick to act on that, and fair play. John El Alamo. Nice one, John. Leadership by senior players, game management, and a goal kicker, all absent.
Yeah, well, summed that up, hasn't he? The Cass plumber. Ha 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 ha. Then came the drop goal. Ha 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 ha. P.S. Cass is still class and top. Now back to work for me. Where did I put my wrench? Don't answer that, lads.
There you go. I think Mark's got a suggestion for where you can put your wrench, mate. But that made me chuckle.
Has he done the right game with that? Well, he's not talked about the game at all, has he?
Well, there was a drop goal.
Yeah.
So I think he's on the right game.
Okay.
Or she. AK Steel 69 said, with lack of grunt in recent weeks and 21-year-old forwards on the bench, I fully expected our One Direction to be backwards before the game started. How wrong I was. I love this person. I don't know if AK Steele's a man or a woman, but I love you either way. I think you make some great comments. By cutting out penalties that have cost us in recent weeks and speeding up the ruck, we've frequently got on the front foot and allowed the back space to cause problems for Wigan. Lots of good individual performances for Hull, onwards and upwards.
David Lawrenson at David Lorrow on Twitter said two things. Lots of injuries, but we should be better than that, as a Wigan fan. And what's happening about refs? I don't think we've ever heard them get as much grief as they are right now.
Yeah, because... like we were talking about before, and that Dave Woods article on the BBC Sport website as well. I don't know when that popped up. I think it must have been during the afternoon.
Is it that linked to the weekly podcast?
Possibly so.
Usually something comes up on the Monday afternoon.
He makes a very good point, though, that it's become legitimised for fans to do it because we see owners and coaches doing it on a weekly basis.
Well, isn't John Keir quoted as saying something like, you can't come out and blame your own players or yourself, so... you have to blame someone, almost. That's paraphrasing what I read.
I don't mind a coach doing it or trying to distract attention away and then privately giving his player some stick, but it's... Owners need to know better, and it's owners that are bitter and a bit pissed up, I would say, coming out after you've been done by 38 points, blaming a referee, that need to just pick the time a bit better.
I think it's across the board, though. I mean... I've not seen the incident from the Bradford game with Joe Keys getting levelled out and taken out of the game.
It's pretty horrific.
But the level of the criticism that came from the Bradford players and all people associated with the club after...
fuck that.
Was No, but that's an example that I'm just picking out from yesterday because it was fresh in my mind.
No, but I'll address that specifically, but go on.
But that's an example of the level of going into it with people. Yet Darryl Powell has still not said, yes, I was wrong, that decision was right from last year. No, but this is what the point I'm saying is, if you're going to come out and criticise them, come out and apologise when you prove to be wrong by the footage and the rule book. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
That's all.
I do. I could have sent you on a mark around then. I felt like I could have just
this referee thing bothers both of us.
It does massively. It does absolutely massively. Fucking let's have more quit and let's not fucking watch the game then. Or let's have more top flight referees pack it in because they're getting bullshit off people who don't know any better and couldn't referee a fucking arm wrestle.
Or have no intention of trying.
Exactly. Sit there criticising referees. Well, fucking, if that's your game, mate, get yourself doing a few laps to the local sports field and go referee a couple and come back and talk about it. Because until then, until you've walked a mile in someone's shoes, they do a really hard fucking job. And without them, we haven't got a sport. So maybe there's a deficit in talent. Maybe there's something that needs to be addressed in terms of the way the RFL manage and recruit and source referees. But whilst that's been met and whilst that's been addressed, the people who referee the sport from the very top of the game right down to grassroots level deserve to be treated with respect, deserve to be able to do their job without abuse, and deserve to be able to go about their daily lives without having their cars keyed and all sorts of shit happening to them.
Ralph Rimmer was bullshit on the BBC Manchester Rugby League podcast last Thursday talking about the number of referees that the recruiting new into the game level has gone up, and the plans that they've put in place over the last 2 years to increase the number of referees in the game, that sort of thing, has appeared to have shown some progress. But then, conversely, at the very top, you've lost a lot of your experienced or full-time or Super League qualified referees from the game. 13 of the top 30 referees in the last 2 seasons have left the game for various reasons, obviously, but a lot of them still well within the good age range to be doing the job for another 10 years or more.
Exactly.
And those people have had abuse from within the RFL or from the touchline or from the terraces, but repeatedly. And I would want to get out.
I'm not saying that having a thick skin isn't a necessity in being a referee. I think it is, and I think the ones that have been most successful, the long-term successful referees clearly do have a thick skin, and you've got to be able to tolerate a certain amount, and that's fine. That is almost part and parcel of it, but it goes beyond that for me in a lot of cases, and it's
the scrutiny is amplified. Yeah,
absolutely.
But the RFL can't get it right either, because they're slagged off for there not being good enough referees and not forcing any competition for places, and then not dropping referees. But then they're slagged off for not looking out after the mental health of referees by dropping them after they've got a bad review from a coach or a bad performance. So it's like, well,
they're damned if they didn't, damned if they don't.
Which is, we've just got to wait all over, isn't it?
We've just got to wait for this for the stuff that they've put in, for the wheels that they've set in motion to start bearing fruit, and it will take time because there is a deficit there. But in the meantime, right? I don't know what the answer is for you. I think people just do it for sport. I don't think people always feel passionately about it. I think it's just a trend, and it's a bullshit one because it's entirely unsportsmanlike.
So to me, I've got no problem with from the terraces like jeering a bit if you feel the referee's against you. What I do have a problem with is having an opportunity to watch the game back, or even not having an opportunity to watch the game back, but sitting back and reflecting after the game when you trip home or whatever. And then still getting at the referee, still blaming the officials for what's occurred on the field, or still slamming them, win, lose or draw, still slamming them for every decision they make that you don't like weeks and weeks after. I think when the whistle goes, we should. Okay, in some of the post-match interviews, I get that there'll be still a rawness for the players and the coaches, etc. But for the fans, get over it, bigger things are happening. Of
course they are, absolutely. Bit of perspective. Oh great, look at this one. Rich Langley.
Well, let's have a bit of fun.
Do I have to sing this? Why is it called the Jenga bus?
Because he's done a song. This reminds me of a point I need to make about people putting enters into the match reviews. It takes me so much longer to put them into the show, but go on.
Right, okay, Rich Langley, the Jenga bus is coming, and Jamie Shaw is jumping Wigan to the KCOM and FC Party Disco. Didn't really rhyme either. But
didn't necessarily. Well, there might have been a line in there that's not fit, because I have to find them all. They don't work right when people do enters in the match reviews.
This is it. Well, this goes to show you can't judge a book by its cover, because having looked at Rich Langley for a number of years now, I would not have thought that 90s Europop was necessarily his sphere of expertise, but clearly I was wrong. He goes on to say, injury crisis versus injury inconvenience.
Is this not because we talked about the Jenga piece thing?
There you go. Oh, possibly. So he's even penned his own song. That's even more impressive.
But it is the Jenga boys, the
Venga boys.
Venga boys, sorry. Yeah. But the Jenga thing is, I was talking about Danny Houghton being the Jenga piece.
There you go. He's penned his own then in that case. Bravo, sir. He goes on to say, injury crisis versus injury inconvenience. If Wigan had a goal kicker, the last quarter of this match may have been a bit different, but Hull pulled it enough with the fan, and the fans went home happy, and we're hanging at the edge of that top 4 still. Minicello for Prime Minister. I'd have him over Theresa May.
Well,
some people would.
Well,
some people wouldn't.